disabilities, like, I know that's hard, especially on kids, because kids can be so mean, and you're using that to empower yourself and now to empower others through your poetry. How did you make that change? How did you dive into poetry?
You know what? First, I gotta say hip hop. I gotta say the community. I gotta say Muhammad Ali.
What?
Muhammad Ali. Before I even knew about rap or anything, Muhammad Ali was a big thing in everybody's household. If you were old enough to be um, cognitive in the '70s, then you knew about the greatest.
The great Ali.
Yeah, right, right. He
Yeah.
just exemplified everything that we already felt that we were. Um, One of the misconceptions is that rap or people do stuff and then we follow them. Really, the streets is the leader. The people is the leader. The community is the leader. And then somebody seems to rise up and exemplify what's already out there, what's already been going on and what's already doing. Jermaine Jordan, when Homicide, R.I.P. from Oak Park, was doing his music career and had just started. Jermaine was talking about we all go through the same things at the same time, just on different levels. And we was looking at all of the cities that we had been through in that period of time, and just everybody was going through the same thing. So when social media came about, I was like, here's a perfect time for us to put out our story. Here's a perfect time for us to show our videos. And here's a perfect time for us to redirect that narrative that we ain't no good and we ain't with our kids and we don't have women and we ain't faithful and all those things that can be said about us. And then I knew a whole lot of dads. I knew a whole lot of dads through the 80s. And what I realized was the community shares what they need. The community shares what they need. And that's a really wonderful thing about us. So that was another point that proved to me that there are kings. There are queens. There are these empires all over. It's just how much game or how much knowledge or how much wisdom do you have to be able to see that's a queen over there.
Yeah,
You know
definitely,
what I mean?
definitely.
I'm blessed to know a lot of people that are doing nonprofits and a lot of people that are doing things that help. So I always wanted to, what's the biggest thing we can do? What's the biggest answer? And I always looked at the Panthers, and I like the Panthers because they gave us actionable things. They gave us tangible things to do every day, to be involved in the movement. And since then, nobody or no entity has been able to do that. So I really thought about how do we get us together? So we like money. So reparations was always a thing in the back of my mind.
Right.
But I was always like, how do we really work on this trauma? How do we really work on getting ourselves healed? How do we work on that we are enough? So I thought art, I thought business, I thought all of the things that we do well, that we do on normal. James Brown said you got to use what you got to get what you want.
Yeah, yeah.
So I always was like, well, what do we do naturally? We party naturally. We create naturally. We vibe naturally. We chill naturally. So I was like, let's start doing all of the things that we do naturally and put those into a business, and then that'll give us the economic foundation we need to push everybody in a different direction.
Right, yes.
Because I'm like, it's so many talented people. Oh man.
Yeah.
There's so many talented people, not just in Oak Park, not just in Sacramento, but
In the
like
world.
in the world.
In the world.
In the world.
Yes.
And it's really a trip how social media can do whatever it is that you into. If you into tripping, if you into funking, if you into a lot of negativity, it's there. But now if you into family, if you into connecting, if you into lifting up, if you into bigging up, if you into talking good about somebody, if you into finding out somebody that's doing something good, it is an incredible resource.
Yes, yes, yes.
And you'd be surprised how many people are doing something that's helping somebody out there.
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible. One of the things that I started doing was just there's a artist named Akinsanya Campbell, also known as Mark Teamer. Mark Teamer was one of the Old Park Four. His comic book was designed for the Black Panther Party for self-defense, but was never used by the Black Panther Party for self-defense. What it was used by was the FBI and the CIA to say how violent we were. Akinsanya had just came back from Vietnam. So you can imagine all of the trauma that he went through surviving what they said it was like 16 minutes was a life expectancy of somebody in Vietnam, a recruit. So surviving them 16 minutes and being able to come back home, he had a lot of things that he depicted. And during that time, the police were incorrigible and unstoppable, and was really just was able to do every diabolical thing that they want to. They were put in the position of being against the people, and they took that situation and that position very seriously. So when the Panthers came about and began to liberate us and began to not only show us physical differences, but show us mental differences and show us that we are more than we've been told we are. And there's a reason why you're told you're not. Because you are. If you wasn't, they wouldn't need to tell you you're not. There would be no need to convince you you wasn't if you wasn't so much. So Akinsanya, I talked about us sharing dads earlier, and the community shared dads. One of the dads that we shared was Stephen Mitchell, Stacy and Morgan Mitchell's dad, and he took me the first time to the first museum I had ever been to, and it was in Akinsanya Campbell's house, and it was just his work and a couple of pictures that inspired him and some people that he liked it, but mostly it was his work. And I got to walk around, and all on the floor in the living room where there was these little busts of heads. But what I noticed more than anything was how his pictures were pictures of people in the neighborhood, but like Reggie. Reggie used to be the lifeguard at the Oak Park Community Pool, and I don't know if y'all remember who remember. He used to have an afro, and if you seen him in the sun, he looked like Jesus glowing. Especially if he came and saved you if he was drowning in the pool. But Akinsanya painted him, and he titled it Moses. And I'll never forget this picture, y'all. It not only changed my life, but it set me on a path of how we need to control our visuals. We need to say who we are. We need to control our narrative. We need to be painting who we are, because if we don't do it, somebody else gonna do it, and they gonna paint it their way.
Right. Alright. And they ain't gonna tell the whole story.
They ain't gonna tell the whole story. So after that, I remember spray pan art and spray paint art and spray can art, and all of these graffiti books that came out, and me and Richard Renz and Sanai and a couple other cats, we had started doing graffiti, and I was really enamored by the power of the word, but I always kept the visual and the word separate for some reason. I don't know. It just didn't come about until Grandma passed. And then that's when I started putting art with the music and art with the poetry and just combining it. Before that, I just, for some reason, I don't know why I wanted to keep it separate. So, as I'm seeing on social media, as I'm seeing the effect that I have on kids. I'm seeing the effect that I have on my own kids. I'm seeing the effect that I have on my children's mothers. I'm seeing the effect that I have on the neighborhood. I'm loving the super dad effect. The super dad effect is when you start seeing brothers with their kids. A whole bunch of brothers with their kids, just everywhere that you go. I think that's one thing that we can use to stop some of the gang violence too. Just a lot of the fathers getting together.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just your kids seeing you with me and that we rock together. It's kind of hard it's harder for them to do to each other what we've been doing to each other. So one of the things that I always saw was gentlemen treating each other like gentlemen, reacting like gentlemen, and providing like gentlemen. I never being raised in Shriners Hospital for Crippled Children, being raised with 18 operations in my feet backwards. I was an advocate before I was anything else. So the first thing I was an advocate for was the nurses. The nurses at Shriners basically done the job of the doctors, but didn't get the recognition.
Right.
So I think one of my first battles that I remember was the nurses. I didn't like rounds. Rounds is when the doctors come around and they and the nurses talk about what's going on with the patients. But they use the medical terminology.
Right.
So medical terminology sounded like another language to me. And I didn't like somebody coming around talking about me and I don't understand what you're talking about.
You right there in front of me.
Right. So the nurses helped me with the medical terminology dictionary so I was able to understand what the doctors were saying. So in turn, I was also able to pick at the doctors and cut them down a size because like I said, the nurses were doing the job.
Right.
They knew everything to tell the doctor.
Right. They're doing all the tests.
Right. They're doing everything. They're the bedside.
They're relaying the message to the doctor.
Right.
You know, so
all that's going on. So I took pride in being able to level the playing field, even as a child. So think about that as we're always thinking about how children should stay in their place. Maybe that's always the best place for children.
You can learn from a child.
You can learn a lot from a child.
They have an innocent perspective. They don't have an opinion, I guess, you know? Like they don't have an opinion yet.
They got a reaction.
They have a reaction, yeah. So definitely. I love it.
So it seemed like I had an operation every other year. Sometimes it would fall in the summer, sometimes it would fall in the winter. So it would seem like I would get back to the park after I had had some time to miss it. So everything was fresh. As somebody else might be, there's this book, it's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I trip off Rich Dad, Poor Dad because I felt like that.
Yeah.
I felt like growing up in Oak Park was one environment and one upbringing, and then growing up in San Francisco was another environment and another upbringing. First of all, the people that worked for the hospital were immigrants from Russia, the Philippines, all of the dark countries that you can think of, Mexico, but all of the white ones too, Yugoslavia. So you got to really meet everybody.
Yeah.
And because it's an international city, the thinking and the get down and just the things that they talk about are so much different than the little town. So every time I would come back home, it would be a juxtaposition. You know what I mean? Like there, the hierarchy is the doctors and the nurses. When I got back home, the hierarchy was the preachers and the hood. Because that's about all that we really had.
Right.
So moms and grandma, they were in Eastern Stars. My grandfather was a pilgrim traveler, one of the first gospel quartet groups. So music's been in my family quite some time.
In your DNA.
Yeah. but he was also a church rock star, which contributed to a lot of things going on. So Grandma said that one of the things that they arranged marriage back then.
Yeah.
So one of the things that got them arranged was the fact that they had both had family members that had a situation where a white person ended up dying. And even though they was able to pay for a lawyer or they was able to defend themselves, and because of that, they picked the two people in those families that would most likely work out and connect those two families together. And I was like, that's resistance in itself. Like, we want the bloodline of the people that's willing to stop the oppression to be together.
Yeah.
Like, somebody actually thought about that.
Yeah, definitely. The strongest collaborating. That's how it's supposed to be.
So I always looked at that as how can we duplicate that? How can we replicate that in our lives? And with the kids, I was always picking movies because I thought garbage in, garbage out. There's my mentor, Paul the Hot Dog Man. Paul the Hot Dog Man was a Muslim, and he wanted to affect the community, but he didn't know how. So one day he said God told him to get a hot dog cart.
That's right.
And he was like, what I'm gonna do with the hot dog cart? So he said, God said, go out to the park. And everything happened from then. And he said the first person he started talking to was Andre Allen, Dre. And he said because of Dre, he came back and met everybody else. So if you can think of maybe a Martin Luther King, maybe a Malcolm X, maybe a Medgar Evers, if you can think of a David Williams, if you can think of somebody that just imparted and affected your life purposely, like they set out to do it, that would be the hot dog man, Paul Ansari. He's one of the Ansaris, like Ascari X. And one day I told him, it seemed like a game plan, and it seems like the people against us have that game plan, and I want to know where they got it from. And he was like, what you mean? I said, it just seems like we're stuck in a situation, and it seems like everybody else is playing against us, and they know the rules and we don't.
They know the rules and we don't. Say it again. Oh.
They know the rules and we don't.
Oh, Lord.
So Paul was like, okay, if you're serious, write down 3 things you want to know, and I'll give you 3 answers. So this was the beginning of everything for me. So one of my questions was, what went wrong? When did it go wrong? And how can we do something against it? So Paul began to tell me, okay, it's like you sleeping and you starting to wake up, but you really ain't woke yet. You ain't awoken your eyes, but you just coming to the fact that you was sleeping.
Yeah.
And just before you open your eyes, it's like we in that state, Paul was saying. We in that state right before we wake up, right before we open our eyes.
We're kind of aware.
Right.
But we still foggy.
We still foggy. So I was like, okay, so how do we go about doing that? He said, okay, well, you got to get in line with everybody else. And I was like, what is that? He was like, there is millions upon millions upon millions of people that are trying. You just got to get in line with them. And I was like, okay, I didn't understand that. So what he began to show me was all of the people that wrote books about you, all of the people that wrote plays about you, all of the people that wrote movies about you, all of the people that invented something for you specifically, all of the people that just had you in mind before you even got here. So then that began to make sense. Then I was like, okay, it's a long lineage of freedom fighters.
Yes.
A long lineage of freedom fighters. And I just find myself blessed to ever be called in the number of the freedom fighters.
Yes.
So I started looking at, we're going to church with mama and grandma because they were Eastern Stars. I looked at the hierarchy and I saw how people were able to use their words. And I saw how people was able to get people involved and get them motivated, but I just didn't understand why it had to be outside of us. Even as a child, I thought that was the most dangerous part. Why is the thing that I need the most outside of me? That's going to cause a whole lot of things that I could sidestep. Like, let's take women, for example. If the creation's not in you, then maybe it's easy to think that you're not good enough. Maybe it's easy to think that you need makeup. Maybe it's easy to think that you need hair. Maybe it's easy to think that you need these outside adornments.
Right.
Because you don't feel like it's in you. So
yeah, because you feel like you're lacking something.
Right.
My hair isn't as long.
Right.
My hair isn't as straight.
Right.
You know, my eyebrows aren't as thick. You know, my cheeks aren't as rosy. I want to look like something that you're not. When everything you have inside you is already, it's there.
Right.
Your beauty, when you wake up, you naturally glow. But I think, you know, this is just my personal feelings. I don't like makeup. It's made up. It's fake. It's not real. It's not you. We don't know who you are. So, you know, just let your skin needs to breathe. It needs air, you know, and just like, I don't understand why people, you know, a lot of us women, we feel a need to hide who we are. You know, a lot of women, y'all call it pandemic bodies, they went and got their bodies done, and, you know, they feel like, oh, I could never look like that woman over there. When we're all built differently. None of us have the same bone structure. We don't have the same skin elasticity or whatever, you know, so, you know, we have our unique shape. That's what makes us all unique, all beautiful, you know, and I just feel like we got lost somewhere. We got lost somewhere, you know, thinking that we weren't good enough naturally. You know, so I feel like that's something we gotta work on. We gotta build each other up.
I think I found it. I think whenever we decided, first of all, that it's not in me, right? Then if it's not in me, then I can tend to not see it in somebody else. If I cannot see it in somebody else, then somebody can tell me that we not related. If I can be told that we not related, then you become less valuable to me. Because you don't have it in you either.
Right.
So I can deny you, which would be harder to deny you if it was first, I believed it was in me. And second of all, I believed it was in you.
But when you know who you are, you know exactly who you are, where you come from, then you can lift each other up. Because some of us, when we sleep, you know, it's like, you know, we woke, we sleep, whatever mentality, but like, you'll look at someone like, oh, she need to get her hair done, she needs some makeup, she need to do this, she need you know, she needed that, you know. People always have so many different opinions, you know, just looking at somebody like, come on now, you don't even know her. But when you have it already in you, when you know you are God inside of you, when you know that you are queen, you are goddess, you're gonna lift that queen up, even if she she's homeless. You see the queen in her. Because it's not what you have on the outside.
Not only do you see the queen in her, you also notice the opposition against her.
The struggle.
Right, and she needs to be lifted up.
Yes.
Maybe she don't know her crown is a little crooked and you could straighten it out, but knowing where we come from and knowing the opposition against us helps you help somebody else with less hesitation. You know, you kind of like are that crutch, you know, without being asked so much.
So people get beat down in life so much every day, from childhood to adulthood. We get beat down subconsciously. So you're not even knowing you're getting beat down. And this is within everything, whether we're in school, whether we're in church, whether we're with our friends, whether we're with our parents, whether we're with our siblings. You know, it's just always a constant negative. So you have to find the positive in every situation. And me growing up in foster care, me growing up with a mother who was addicted to drugs, so basically me coming into this world addicted to drugs, I had to look at things differently. I looked at things very differently, you know, and I was scared a lot of the time. But like when you know who you are and know that you went through everything that you went through for a reason,
for a purpose.
Everyone is not strong. But
everybody
but the ones that are strong, God is going to give you those tests.
Yeah.
He's going to give you those tests for you to pass. And I always say, and I was like, well, I wonder if God tested me with this relationship. Is God testing me with this situation? You know what I mean? But I always know that I'm being tested. And for the fact that I know that I'm being tested,
I'm gonna survive.
I know I'm going to survive. I know that God is guiding me somewhere. He's guiding me into the right place that I'm supposed to be. He's guiding me over these stumbling blocks.
Right.
You feel me? And he's going to lead me to where I'm supposed to be.
Come on.
But I have to go through these steps.
Come on.
I have to go through this, or I won't appreciate what I got when I get there.
Right.
You know, I won't know the struggle to overcome it or to help someone else overcome it. Because I believe that I went through everything. I went through the good, the bad, the ugly to help other people, mainly these children, because they have a voice, but their voice is not being heard. Because adults don't want to hear their voices, or adults be like, oh, they don't have a mind of their own. They don't know. They don't want to take accountability.
They don't want to take accountability.
They need to know that, you know, sometimes it's your fault.
What was Tree saying? That we don't apologize.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of parents just ain't apologize.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For whatever it is. I got a homegirl. We did cosmetology school together, right? And I was talking about me and my daughter's situation, and she was talking about her and her mom's situation. And I could tell she's still affected by her mom leaving her.
Yes.
And it was one of the situations we was talking about before. Maybe everything else is perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe grandma treats you right. Maybe grandma makes sure don't nobody mess with you. Maybe you're clothed and fed and everything else is perfect. But the fact that you got separation anguishes from, well, why did my mama leave me? Is something wrong with me that my mama don't want to be with me? Why don't my mama come around? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I think a lot of us go through things that affect us on a cellular level.
Yeah.
And then a lot of studies have shown that you can pass on stuff on a cellular level.
Yes.
And receive stuff on a
pass
cellular
on
level.
trauma. As a mother, giving birth is like the closest you can get to death.
Whoa.
So just imagine the trauma you're going through giving birth. I've given birth 4 times, and I've only had one that was smooth.
Whoa.
So I almost lost my life having 3
Jamar.
children. You know what I mean? So we pass that trauma, that stress that we're going through while we're carrying that child, or while we're delivering that child. The stress that we are going through is transferred to our child, just like our food, our vitamins, our energy is transferred to our child. All of our traumas and our stresses are transferred to our children too. I know this personally because I have felt every pain my mother endured. And that's how I know that her trauma was passed on to me. You know what I mean? And nobody can tell me differently, because just listening to her stories, just everything she's been through, I didn't have to experience it for myself, because I feel like I experienced it through her. I felt all her pain. I felt her loneliness. I felt her sadness. Just everything. My mother was at 13. You know, she was prostituted and strung out on drugs by her boyfriend. So like she went through a lot of stuff, insecurities, just everything with the family, and her mom stressing over her. She was the only child. So it's like, I can just imagine the feeling, the pain, the anguish, and then that being passed on to me. And then like, okay, then all the pain and anguish I went through being passed on to my kids.
Right.
So
She was the only child of a sister who had a gang of brothers and sisters, though.
Yes, my great grandmother had 12 living children.
Right.
6 boys, 6 girls. And my grandma was the only one of those kids who only had one child.
Right. So that makes a big deal.
It makes
So that's
a big
like
deal.
the baby
Being
of the baby.
an only child.
The baby of the baby.
Right. So it was, and then like my mom would always tell me she didn't feel loved. And she had 5 children. And she still didn't feel loved. Like she felt like because of the lifestyle that she chose, not that she chose it, I'm not even going to chose those words, the lifestyle that she was dealt, because we all got these hands we were dealt, you know what I mean? And it's just how you play them. It's how you play them. Some people don't know how to play the cards.
At 13, how do you stop an adult from having you if that male wants to have that female?
And then your
at
brain
13?
is
How
not
do you
even
stop
fully
that?
developed. Your brain is not fully developed, and then when you're looking for love because you're 13 and your dad's not there,
Okay.
so you're looking for love in a male companion, and then you get this man who you get with who's not only verbally abusive to you, but he's physically abusive to you, and he strings you out on drugs and he prostitutes you. Imagine the trauma her mind at a young age was going through. You know what I mean? And then not feeling that love, this man beating on her, telling her she ugly, cutting her hair off. That's traumatic. And just imagine the trauma that she still carried as an adult. Because I've seen it. I've seen the trauma. I'm wondering, why is she so sad? Why is, she be like, I'll say certain things about a certain someone, and she be like, oh, you don't know them. You don't know them like I know them, or you don't know what happened. And I'll be like, Mom, whatever happened, you gotta let it go. So some people, when they've been hurt so much, they can't let it go. And it just holds on to them and it festers inside of them. And they'll die with that pain. You know what I mean? So, we have to find that inside of us. Right. We have to be able to build ourselves up. Everybody don't have that because they've been broken down so much. And when you're broken down so much, it's hard to pull yourself up out of something if you don't have somebody lifting you up. Like, come on, I got you, I see you. You feel me? I had that. I had somebody see me. And that feels so good to have somebody see you when you feel invisible. When you feel like the system or don't nobody care about you. So that's why I do what I do, and I provide this platform because I experienced it myself. And if I didn't experience it, I wouldn't have the knowledge to know how it affects children. You know what I mean? And it affects us until we're adults. I'm 36 years old. I'm about to be 37. And I'm still affected by everything that I endured as a child.
I can believe that too. I think a lot of us are affected by childhood traumas, childhood triggers, childhood issues that we never really deal with. And then add to that, like you said, the trauma that's passed down through our DNA, through our cells, through our molecular structure.
Yes.
Those things that we never deal with on a racial issue, those things that we never deal on a societal issue, those ills that we never cure in our society that festers in our environment. You know what I mean? That makes people feel like they're not enough. That makes people feel like that they have to live off of the demise of somebody else. That makes somebody else feel like I want to control you on every level. I want you hooked on drugs. I want to beat you. I want to cut your hair. I want to defame you. I want to make you feel less than. I want to make sure that I'm your only in everything, and you can't survive without me. What makes somebody denigrate to that level to want that?
I think it's their own insecurities. To be able to control someone and demean them and break them down mentally, physically, emotionally, that is something that comes from within that you didn't get, that you lacked. And I always tell my daughters, hurt people hurt people. I've been hurt a lot as a little girl, so I've seen it firsthand.
Right.
I've seen how people can hurt a little kid because they're going through something. You know what I mean? And then the little kids are quiet because you're not supposed to speak up against nobody.
Come on, not
You're
no
not
adult.
supposed to talk
Not
about
no adult.
nothing
As
that
a matter of
happened in your
fact, you're
house.
supposed to be seen and
And
not
not
heard.
Yes, I was told that a lot as a little girl. You are supposed to be seen and not heard. And you're not supposed to talk about nothing that goes wrong in your house. So if something did happen to you, you're not supposed to talk about it. So how do you get healing? How do you heal from that? As a little child going through something and you not understanding it, and then if you talk about it, people like, shh, don't say nothing. You ain't supposed to be talking about that. You're gonna get somebody in trouble.
Right. Right.
You feel me? So, like, those are the taboo issues that we sweep under the rug, but we gotta teach our kids, and I teach my daughters to speak up.
Tell me.
If anybody
Let
is
me
saying
know.
anything or is trying to tell you something, you tell me. But I teach them to identify these inappropriate behaviors, these inappropriate words, these inappropriate gestures. Because I was touched inappropriate as a little girl. I had a grown man who always hugged me, and I thought it was okay. But what he was doing, what I realized is he was rubbing me against him. He was like pulling me like this and rubbing me against him. And I didn't realize it, but then I did realize it as I got older when someone else did it to me. And I was like, he's not supposed to do that. That's what he was, and it's just like these older people, and they can be teenagers. You gotta watch these teenagers around kids, because there was a teenager that was doing that to me. They will groom you. That's what they
Do
will
it long
groom
enough
you.
to where you think it's okay.
You think it's okay.
You're used to it now.
You think it's okay. And you think, and then they'll tell you certain things, and you're not supposed to say nothing, or you're gonna get in trouble, and oh, you need somebody to take care of you. I was told this. You need somebody to take care of you. They're not gonna take care of you. You need a real man to take care of you. These are, there are sick people in this world. You gotta be able to teach your children what's right and what's not right. You know what I mean? And teach them who they are.
Close enough to see you with your young relationship, see you trying to handle it, and tell you stuff like, you don't need that, you need a real man.
Yeah.
But
you don't
a real
need nobody
man is
to take
getting at a
care of
13-year-old.
Right, and that's how it be. And then all the kids, they want to be grown, they want to, feel like they're independent and everything like that. So it's easy to manipulate a child. It's so easy to manipulate a child. You feel me? So like, I feel like you have to teach these children who they are. You got to teach them the importance of their temple. I was taught that this is my temple.
Come on.
You know what I mean? You gotta teach them the importance of reputation. That is something you can never get back once it's took. You know what I mean? Just like your virginity. You gotta teach them the importance of these certain behaviors, having morals, having, all this stuff. Like, a lot of people don't know nothing about it. A lot of these kids don't know nothing. They don't know what morals are. You have to teach them that. You gotta teach them to love themselves.
And how to use them.
Right.
Because that's another lesson on what they mean and how to use them.
Yeah.
Because your morals will keep you out of stuff.
Yes.
If you're not sexually active, your morals will keep you out of sexual situations that could hurt you.
Yeah.
Or could defame your reputation or your character later on.
And there's a lot of that amongst teenagers. Reputation, like boys and girls, but boys mostly, I've seen it a lot. Like they get these girls and they talk them into sending them pictures or, doing things like that, and then all of a sudden they're all over the school, they're all over the internet, and then boom, there goes their reputation, is gone. They're known for being easy, they're known for this, they're known for that, and all you had to do was make the right choices. So we have to teach our children these choices. We have to teach our children what to do in these situations. We have to teach them. because they're not going to learn. Because if we let TV teach them, if we're letting TikTok teach them, if we're letting YouTube teach them, they're not going to be learning the right things.
And you know what? I used to say, let the child see the other parent. I don't know how I feel about that now. I'm looking at my own issues and my own children, and I'm like, what could I have done more to protect the youngest one? So I think the more you can be there, the more you can be involved, the more you can see, the more you can help, the more you can communicate. Whatever type of bridge that you create with your kids, however you can strengthen that and keep that going, I think that's the most beautiful thing to put your energy into. Because I think these kids, they really need a lot of us. They need a lot of us. They need a lot of us.
They need support. A lot of these kids don't grow up with two-parent households. That's the messed up agenda. You feel me? Because I feel like it was an agenda. After Martin Luther King, that's just my personal opinion. You feel me? To break up the black family, to take the black man out of the home. And the mother be on welfare.
Well, you can see all of the evidence that has been shared by all those people are utilizing their social media now. We know that there was an incentive for the welfare department to keep the man out of the house. Yeah. There was an incentive for the police to keep the man out of the house. And then
they give you less money if you have the male in the house. I'm not going to give you everything. I knew this because when I turned 18, I had a child, and I was with my child's father. We were actively together. We wanted to build a home together. That was our goal. But when you're young like that, they're like, okay, well, we're gonna give you need to get on welfare. You need to sign up for Section 8. You need to do this. But you can't have a man in the house with you. We're not gonna give you this assistance if you got a man in the house with you. So
and on top of that,
so don't put him on there. And then what we're gonna do is we want you to sign these child support papers though against him. All his information. Put him on there. I was like, whoa, that's how they do it. And it's like, it's sad to say, but that's not how it should be. Every household should have two parents. Now, we're not, everyone ain't lucky enough to have it like that, but it makes a big difference, I didn't have my mom or my dad growing up. I grew up in the system. I grew up in foster care. Now, my foster parents have been together for well over 60 years. They've been together a long time. They have a very tight family. They go on family vacations, Just living in that house as a little kid, seeing their structure, I was kind of jealous of it because that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to have a mom and a dad and grandparents and, it's a big happy family, the white picket fence and all that. But not everybody gets that. And you don't know how that child feels like, dang, I wish I had a dad. I wish I had a dad to take me to a daddy-daughter dance. I wish, I had, these things, but everybody don't get that. And I feel like if that child doesn't have that dad, if they're incarcerated or if they're, passed away or just anything, there should be a substitute. There should be uncles there. There should be big brothers there. There should be cousins there. That there should never be a lack in feeling that love or feeling that position. You know what I mean? All these little girls need this man figure. They need this protector. They need the person that they can call on or they can run to when they feel scared. You know what I mean? And not feel like, oh, well, I don't got no dad. You don't know how a little kid feels like. I didn't have a dad. I was making up stories about my dad. I was like, oh, my dad used to jump out planes. My dad did this.
For real.
I did. Because I wanted to tell those.
Wherever it's in,
I wanted to tell those stories too. Right. Everybody had a dad. Well, shit, I got a dad too.
Yeah. He jump out planes. See?
But we have to be able to give these kids that comfort and knowing that they have everything they need.
Right.
They have all the love they need.
Right.
You know, that you're not lacking something if your dad's not there. You're not lacking something if you're in foster care and your parents are fighting addiction and they can't take care of you. You have everything you need inside of you. You have all that love inside of you. You are not responsible for the life someone else lives. My mother taught me you're not a parent until you're a grandparent, because when we're parents, we're still learning. Didn't nobody teach us how to be a parent. Whoa. I became a parent the same day you became a child.
Whoa.
I didn't have a manual or a handbook. Nothing. So we are learning.
A manual. We learn.
And we gotta break those generational curses. And people always tell me, oh, Sparkle, you're such a good mom. I see you with your kids. You're always having your kids, this and that. Well, you know what? I wanted to break that generational curse. I didn't have my mom. I got took from my mom. I didn't have that at all.
Had to search and find it.
I had to search for my mother. I had to search for my father. I had to search for my brothers and sisters. Search for my family. The bloodline that I came from. I knew I had to search for them. But I knew I had something inside of me that was strong and that was powerful. But I knew I was connected to something greater and I needed to find it. But I want to teach my kids to never feel like that, to never feel alone, to never feel like they don't got nobody on their side, to never feel like, you know, they can't do something, they don't have the support, you know, or that they're not enough.
That goes back to feeling like telling them it's inside of them, showing them it's inside of them, going back over stories of people that also proved it was inside of them, and people who've done great things that look like him, and just fortifying them with, yes, you are, regardless if the world tries to say you're not. You know, and just creating a communal environment to where they feel like they're reinforced by auntie and brother and cousin and all those other people that you were talking about, just making sure that we have them insulated as much as we can from all of the stuff that we know is out there, all of the stuff that we're still dealing with, all of the stuff that we're still traumatized by, all of the stuff that we're still triggered by, just making sure, like your program, that we give them tools to deal with their triggers. We give them tools to be able to predict their tics and be able to lessen them with some type of activity. You know, just they say that the first step is knowing something's wrong with you. So we never was, black folks specifically, but everybody in general, black folks specifically, we were never given any healing or any counseling or any psychological help from slavery. So that trauma is still in us.
It is, definitely.
So then the Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, that time, we never got any help from that trauma. And I honestly believe
Rodney Kings, the George Floyd, the stuff that's going on now, still today.
Never got any help for that trauma.
Still, we are still suffering. So what we got to do is we got to come together and lift each other up. That's what we have to do. That's the answer to that, because no one else is going to do that. The system was meant to break us. My belief. But I believe we was meant to break the system. That's my belief.
That's your job.
So we got to come together as a community, because that's what they wanted to do, divide and conquer. We got to come together. We got to lift up and lift each other up. Pull each other up.
And connect and communicate.
I see you.
They want to divide and conquer. We want to connect and communicate.
Yes.
They want to divide and conquer. We want to connect and communicate. That's what our job is to do. Connect and communicate. Bring some of them families together. Get to sharing some of those stories. So like Fred Hampton Jr. says, when you share those stories, then you get to see, hey, it's not me. It's a system at play. Because she going through it. He going through it. They going through it. Mama went through it. Grandpa went through it. Daddy went through it. Okay, it's not just me. It's a system at play. Now we can get together and fight the system that's at play that has us oppressed, has us put into a corner, has us reacting instead of proacting.
Yes.
Because in this
Yes.
situation, we need to be proactive. We need to know what's our stats.
Right.
What's our stats as a community? What's our stats as a lineage? What's our stats as a organization? What's our stats as a people? What are our people stats? What have we done as a people? How have we helped further um, mankind?
Our evolution.
Right. How have we helped further our evolution? How have we pushed it
It's
further?
so deep. It is so deep. Oh my goodness, we will be talking for hours.
All right. So look. So you know that. You know that's the cue, right? You know that's the cue. Look, this is Hurricane. I represent the Worldwide Reaction Podcast, and this is iSparkle Supreme, and she represents Lifted and Gifted Foundation.
And I want to bring empowerment and healing to the world, to our youth, to the community. You know what I mean? I have a youth empowerment program called Lifted and Gifted.
Over here, talk to them.
For the youth, I hold it on Mondays, motivational Mondays at the Fruit Ridge Collaborative Center on 44th Street. Every Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. So what we're doing is I'm bringing youth in from ages 8 to 18 who have been through traumatic experiences, who have mental health issues, ADHD, who are stuck in the syndrome mix. Right. Now the syndrome mix is ADHD, is Tourette's, is bipolar, is Asperger's. It's, it's so many different spectrums, and we're all put into this mix. So I just want to address the kids that are labeled as bad, that are but they're super creative, super creative. They rap, they TikTok, they dance, they do music, they draw, they do art. Send them kids to me, because I want to show them how to empower themselves. I want to show them how to use their arts and be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Be an advocate
for themselves. Be an advocate for somebody else. Be an entrepreneur. Be able to take their idea, create their idea, market their idea, and get paid from their idea. I think that's infallible, and I think that's something that's so needed in the community right now, because we need to be able to take what we do well and use what we got, like James Brown said, to get what we want.
Yes, definitely.
If it's just something creative, that's your business. And that's also your lineage for whoever comes after you.
And what you do naturally. It's your healing. Like, we use these arts, we use this music.
It's your healing.
It's our healing, and it's our story. So everyone has a story to tell, So let's show these children how to, tell their stories and how to heal from their traumas and not carry it into adulthood and pass that trauma on to their children. That's my goal. That's my goal, and that's what I'm aiming for. So I also have I have counselors that specialize in trauma and social emotional issues that will be coming in once a month to do a healing circle with the kids. They also have a release room in Elk Grove, so they can go out there and they can smash stuff. They can, shoot stuff with the paintball.
With two
they can
licensed
let their
clinicians.
energy.
With two licensed
clinicians. Rainisha is specialized in psychology, and she's pursuing her titles at the moment. And her husband, Devin, he's already a counselor, and like I said, he specializes in trauma and social emotional issues. And that's some of the main things that we go through, and we don't even know that. Especially amongst black people, we don't like to talk about mental health. We don't like to talk about those stigmas. We'll be like, oh, we fine, or they're just a little stressed out. I have bipolar disorder. And I got diagnosed in 2018, and I didn't even know it, and we have to dig deep into ourselves, and whatever the issues is, find treatment for it. It could be meditation. It could be, just finding a hobby to do, but you can heal yourself.
You can heal yourself.
It's deep within you.
Heal thyself position.
Everything that you need is already in you. You just got to find it and bring it out. So this is another episode of Lifted and Gifted, and I just want to thank you guys
how she started to sparkle. You see
for
that? You see the sparkle?
tuning in. I want you to like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think about
Come on.
everything. If you have any suggestions, if
More
if you want
importantly,
to,
if you know of any kids or if any people that can be helped by the program, the Lifted and Gifted program,
definitely, I'm
where
here.
we're spotlighting mental health, we're using art, we're using therapy, we're using
Music,
music,
poetry.
and they're also
Yes,
starting a business. So not only can they heal themselves, they can pay themselves.
yes.
So if you
And they ain't
like,
gotta work
comment,
for somebody.
subscribe,
And if they, everyone's different. If they don't want to go to college or if they don't know what they want in life, they already have everything they need. If they can draw, if they can write, if they can sing, if they can dance, they are performers. Come on now, let's lift these kids up. They are too gifted to just let them go by the wayside. And that's what I'm here for. So this is my platform, Lifted and Gifted. Here with my guy Hurrikane the Poet, Hurrikane the Poet, excuse me, and you know it. And
what's happening with us, y'all?
we
We
just want
back
to
at
bring
it one
light.
more time.
We just want to bring light to the, to the community, to the world. And if anybody wants to, bring any kids that think that will benefit from this program, you can always hit me up. I will provide all my contact information at the end of this video. If you want to donate, if you want to help out with the project, with the kids and everything, you can definitely do that. My Cash App is iSparkle85. Definitely whatever God is putting on your heart, definitely do it. It's for the kids, it's for the youth. We got to bring awareness to mental health. We got to stop these generational curses.
Come on.
And we have to heal each other.
Come on.
And yeah, so let's get it. Until next time.
Not
Peace
only
and
can you reach me with, man, peace, love, and soul.
Yeah.
Not only can you reach me with the Lifted and Gifted iSparkle Supreme program, you can also reach me at Hurrikane Poet, YouTube, Hurrikane Poet Gmail, and Hurrikane the Poet Facebook.
All right.
Talk to y'all
Till
soon.
next time.
Y'all be safe now.
All right.
Peace.